Hello and welcome to the C programming course. In this video, I'm going to go over some practice problems and practice programming together. In this video, I will write my code in Visual Studio Community. If you want to write your code on any other text editor or IDE as you prefer, you can go ahead. There wouldn't be any problem. But if you want to install Visual Studio Community on Windows, I've prepared a video. Link would be here. And I will leave the link below in the description as well. Today in this video, I'm going to go over 3 practice problems. I will leave the timestamp to each problem in the description below so we can jump over the problems and look at the one that you're more interested in. The first practice problem is, here's a part of a program that begins with having the user input x and y dimensions of a rectangular in meters, rounded to the nearest meter. So we have been provided with the sample code. The code is include stdio.h, which is including the library, the primary library in C programming that contains most of the functions that we're going to use, such as printf and scanf function. And then main function, and we have 4 integer variables has been declared for us: x, y, area, and perimeter. And then printf function that is asking the user to enter the dimension x and y. And then the question is asking us to fill the rest in the program. So this is a sample program that we can start copying and pasting this to our Visual Studio or any editor and then start working from there. Let's see the sample input and output of this problem. As you can see on the screen, the output should look like this. Dimension of rectangular rounded to nearest meter, 2 and 4. So this was what we were asking from the user. The user entered 2 and 4, and the output we specify would be specified dimension equals to 2 times 4, area is 8, and perimeter is 12. So now is a good time to pause the video. Try to open your editor and write this code. Struggle with it. See if you can do it yourself or not, and then come back to the video and look at my solution. Okay, cool. Let's jump into the code editor and see how we can solve this problem. You need to know how printf and scanf functions work in C programming. If you haven't watched those videos, links in the description. The first step is to scan x and y. The second step is to calculate the area and perimeter. And the third step is to print the output to the screen. For the first step, I just call the scanf function and put 2%d because I want to read 2 integers. And then for the argument, I would place the address of the variable x and y. By now, you should know about variables as well. I will put the link in the description below. Now I know that both x and y have values, the values that the user just entered. Let's debug the code to make sure my code is working up to this point. By the way, if you don't know how to debug on Windows using Visual Studio, there's a video for it. I'll put the link in the description. If I put a breaking point at line 10 and start debugging the code by pressing F5 or going to the debug menu and clicking on start debugging, you would see that the window will change to debug environment. In debug environment, we have this local window here that shows all the variables we have declared: area, perimeter, x, and y. And now I can see if my code is working or not. So if I step over, when the yellow flashes at line 10, it means line 10 hasn't been executed yet. So if I step over, I can go ahead and enter numbers 2 and 4 in this case. And if I press enter, that line is being executed and it will jump to the next line. In this case, our next line is line 18, which is return 0. And if you see on the local window, the value of x and y has changed to 2 and 4. So this means my code up to this point, which is step 1, is working, and I can go ahead to the next step. Let me exit the debugging window. So for the second step, we need to calculate the area. So I would just say, I would just multiply x and y and then assign it to area. I think the area we declared was with lower a. Okay. And definitely semicolon. Same thing for perimeter. You just calculate perimeter and then assign it to the variable, the integer variable perimeter. The final step is to print the output on the screen. The first line of the output, as stated in the practice problem, was specify dimensions equal to 2 times 4. Let's print that on the screen. I will use the printf function. And in the printf function, I will put specified dimensions, definitely in the double quotations. Specified dimensions. And then columns, space, %d. I would use x for times, and then %d. Okay, after double quotation, I'll put comma to input the arguments. The first argument I wanted to set instead of the first %d is x, and the second argument I wanted to set instead of the second %d is y. So now I have specified my formatted argument, and I have specified what are the arguments I wanted to replace with %d. The rest is just two printf function, and I'm sure that you can do it easily. Without further ado, let's jump to the second problem. In this problem, we're being asked to write a program that asks the user to input the radius of a circle and then compute and prints out the area and circumference of the circle. The input and output of the program should look like, so enter the radius of circle 2, area equals to the formulation for the area, and then the numbers, and then the value of the area. The same thing for circumference as well, as you can see on the screen. Okay, so for question 2, I just copied what was said in the question to my text editor, and I will start writing the code. What I would do first, what I like to do, I like to make it step by step, so I would know what are the tasks that I have to tackle to do this question. For example, in this case, step 1 is to ask the user to enter the radius. Step 2, read the user input. Step 3 is to calculate the area and circumference. Perfect. And step 4B, print the output to the screen. Awesome. Now I know what are my steps. I can start with each step and then debug my code to see if it's working perfect or not. So the first step is a printf function. Printf function, and then in the printf function, I want to ask the user the same as the question is asking. Enter the radius of the circle. Okay, so now I'm asking the user to enter, and step 2 is to read the user input. I'm going to use a scanf function, and we know that in a scanf function we need to provide 2 arguments. The first argument is the format that the user will enter. So I know that the user will enter a float number, so I'm using %f to read that float number. And then I need to tell C, if you read this float number, where do you want to save it? And definitely I wanted to save it in radius, so I have to give the address to the radius and the memory. And this is so important to give it the address by putting ampersand behind a variable. You're telling the address. If you want to tell your friend to get a pizza and put it in your place, you just don't say put it in my place. You have to give your friend the address so he can go and put the pizza in your place. Now this is our friend C that we are telling, get this float number and put it in the radius. We have to tell it what is the address of the radius in the memory. So by doing this, just putting an ampersand behind it, we're telling the address to the C. Okay. And step 3 is to calculate area and circumference. So I know that the area of, so let me actually do this first. So we have a defined, we call it a compiler variable, a defined compiler variable. What it does during the compile time, C compiler would just remove this PI and replace it with 3.141593 for me. And that's exactly what I want to happen. So to calculate the area of a circle, pi times radius, or radius to the power of 2. We don't want it to use a power function because it's just multiplying by itself. It's much easier to write it this way. But this is the area, and I wanted to assign it. Be careful, guys. This, in mathematics, is different than in programming. This operator, we call it assignment operator. What it does, it will take the right-hand side and puts it into the left-hand side. So if I put area here, it will calculate the right-hand side first and then assign it to the left-hand side. In mathematics, if you say x is equal to 2 or 2 is equal to x, both has the same meaning. But here, it has a huge different meaning because it will take the right-hand side and then assign it to left-hand side. If you say 2 equal to x in programming, it means that I have to take the value of x and assign it to 2, which is impossible because 2 is already a value. So be careful about that the assignment operator is not the equal operator in mathematics. Okay, great. Now we know that. We forgot about calculating the circumference. So let's circumference equals to 2 times pi times radius. And done. Okay, so we now calculate a radius, but let's debug our code step by step to see if we're doing good or not. I'll put a breaking point at line 9, and then I can step over each line in my code to see if everything is working the way it should be or not. I'll press F5 or just go to debug, start debugging my code. Okay, great. As you see, there's nothing printed on the screen. If I step over this line, because remember, when the yellow arrow is pointing to line 9, it means that this line hasn't been executed yet. If I step over, this line will be executed and enter the radius of the circle is being printed on the screen. Now we're at line 12. If I step over, now I can put something here, for example, 2. And if I press enter, the scanf function would work and radius, the value of radius would be 2. If you look at the local window here, that's amazing. It can help us to see what is happening in our code. You see radius, the value of radius is now changed to 2. Now the fun part starts. We are at line 15. No, line 15 hasn't been executed yet. If I step over, you would see area will be 12.56. This means that this is being calculated and then assigned to the variable area. The same will happen if I step over line 16. Now circumference will be calculated as well. So now I'm at return 0, the end of my program, and the program is working perfect. So I can go ahead and write my output. If I stop debugging, go back to the main function. And then on step 4, I can put my outputs. So I'm going to use printf for printing to the screen. And the first line, I wanted to print the formula for calculating the area. So inside the quotations, I'm going to put area equals to pi times radius times radius. And \n. \n will send us to the next line. If you don't know how \n works, you can watch the printf function, and a video regarding printf function. The link would be in the description. But anyhow, it's your program. Remove it and then put it, and then put couple slash and put it in between. Play with it to fully understand what it is. You only learn programming by practice. So don't be afraid. Try to mix and match a lot of things and see what would be the output, how it would change the output. Okay, so next line, I'm going to put another printf, but I wanted to align the equal signs together. I know that I'm printing area in the first line. So if I put manual spaces until I reach to the equal sign and put the equal sign here, I know that in the output, these two equal signs will be aligned. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use %f. The first one is for printing pi, and then times to %f. The second %f is for radius, and another %f. The last %f is for radius again. Okay, now I can go ahead and provide my arguments, but don't forget, we need to go to the next line. Okay, so for the arguments, the first argument is pi, which we wrote as pi here, and radius, and again radius. Okay, so now in the first line, I'm printing the formula. In the second line, I'm printing how I'm calculating it. And in the third line, I'm going to print the result. Again, I want the equal sign to be at the same position like the line above. So I'll just manually put spaces in. And then %f for the result, which is area, /n because I want it to go to the next line. And then after comma, I can put the argument, which is area. I want the value of area to be replaced by %f. Okay, great. So the output regarding area is being printed. We can do the same thing for circumference. So just printf circumference equals to 2 times pi times radius and /n. We don't need to provide any argument because it's just a string that is being printed on the screen. Printf. This part I wanted to align the space, align the equal signs, and then 2 times %f times %f, and definitely go to the next line. And the first %f I wanted to print pi, and the second %f I want to print radius. Okay, great. And on the last line, I'm going to print the circumference. The same way the question, or if you're a programmer, the client asks you to print it this way. Okay, so %f and then a /n to go to the next line, and for the argument, I'm going to put the circumference here. Great. Okay, so we have put all the outputs. I can remove the breaking points and actually compile and run my code without debugging. So with this way, we go to debug menu and then click on start without debugging. You can debug your code as well, whichever way you likes it. So if I put 2 here and enter, you would see area and circumference the way the output, the way the question wants us, exactly with aligned equal signs, is printed on the screen. That was the second question. Let me know if you have any question regarding that. As you can see on the screen, in the third problem, we now want to develop a simple program which computes the value of the change in your pocket or purse. The problem is asking us to complete the following program that computes the value of the coins. The user is asked to input the number of coins, the number of toonies, loonies, quarters, dimes, and nickels. And the program then outputs the number of coins and the value of the coins. And here is the sample problem that is being provided to us. Also, make sure that the input and output statement should look like what is stated in the question. We need to prompt the user 5 times, asking for a number of toonies, loonies, and etc. And then calculate the number of coins and calculate the value of the coins and then print that out to the screen. So to start tackling this problem, I will copy paste a sample code to my text editor, in this case Visual Studio. In this case, the first step is to have 5 print statements and then 5 scanf functions to ask the user to enter the number of toonies, loonies, quarters, dimes, and nickels, and then use a scanf function to print them on the screen. And then step 2 is to calculate the number of coins, then calculate the value of that coins. And in step 3, I will print the results the way that the problem is asking us on the screen. Thank you guys for watching this episode. If you have any question, let us know and we will do our best to answer you as fast as possible. Thank you for watching and see you on the next episode.